Since this program has a focus on ASEAN, and sometimes ASEAN is a region of, let's say the ASEAN is a region of extreme diversities that happens at the cultural, economic, social level, political level, but it's also useful to break down this conception of ASEAN and to look also at what each country that stands in ASEAN, how they are facing these environmental challenges. Southeast Asia is also one of the world's worst ocean polluters. And the ranking of the worst polluters include Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand. 4 ASEAN countries are ranked the world's worst ocean polluters, as well as China. Many of you might not be aware the dark side of the fashion story. This region is also important when we talk about the fashion and apparel industry, which is the second largest polluting industry after oil. And these are just some of the examples of the very pressing issues that the region is currently facing. I want to share with you this graph to understand where is ASEAN in this moment in the world. According to the UN, the top 20 exporting countries of fashion goods are these ones that you see in the table. And at least 5 ASEAN countries, including Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, are the top 20 exporting countries of fashion goods. Now, we have to connect the dots. If it is true that many people in ASEAN depend on the fashion industry, for example, for their economy, for example, Cambodia, 86% of all factory workers in Cambodia are employed by the fashion industry. So if it is good, if it is true that fashion is a profitable business also for these exporting countries, it is also true that being really the largest polluter of the world, this industry, we need to look at things from a different perspective. So what is the true cost of fashion? This is the story that the media, now they're increasingly telling the story. But even if we think about decades back, these are not the kind of issues that made the headlines. The true cost of fashion is water pollution. People have called the fashion industry as the most thirsty industry. It's the industry that consumes more water than any other industry in the world. We also see the increased amount of chemicals that are being used by this industry and that are polluting the ASEAN rivers as never before. We see an accumulation of waste, the emissions of CO2, greenhouse gases emissions, destruction of soil, and also of rainforests. So while it's true that my position has always been not to tell alarmistic stories, a good communicator, a good researcher, a good media professional must also know the other side of the story in order to report about these issues objectively and fairly. Just one additional statistic written in terms that maybe most of us find it more easy to understand. It takes 2,700 liters of water to produce 1 cotton t-shirt, and we all wear cotton t-shirts. This can be also understood as basically to produce 1 t-shirt, we have to use as much water as what a person drinks in 2.5 years. Not to mention our beautiful, comfortable jeans that we're so used to wear every day. 10,000 liters of water are required to grow cotton for a single pair of jeans. This is what a person drinks in 10 years. And yet, before I joined the organizations that are working on sustainability issues, I was keeping to wear my t-shirts, my pants, without knowing, again, the other side of the story. And so, the key point is, and this is true, if we do not seriously change our consumption behavior and make also our production more efficient, we're going to degrade our environment to a point of no return. And this is a true fact, and we have to take action right now, actually. So this is why sustainable development is so important. I don't know if some of you already recognize the SDGs, or the Sustainable Development Goals. This is also the UN Global Agenda for 2030. And basically many organizations, individuals, the business sector, they're working very strongly towards the achievement of these 17 goals. But what does sustainable development implies? What does it mean, sustainable development? Enormous amounts of definitions have been trying to spell out what sustainable development is. In this presentation, sustainable development is defined as, it's about promoting human well-being, the sustainability of resources, but also increasing the economic growth without damaging our environment. And often the philosophies of countries all over the world has been that sustainability and economic growth cannot go hand in hand. Well, today we do not have a choice. We must make sure that sustainability and economic growth go hand in hand. Currently, we do not have a second Earth we can rely on. So one of the goals that I have been recently involved in studying and also understanding how to communicate more effectively about, it's goal 12 on responsible consumption and production. Many might argue that this goal is often one of the less popular of the 17, and it's also one of the most difficult to attain and to communicate about. For me, responsible consumption and production is one of the most urgent goals in terms of communications. We must communicate now and immediately about the importance of responsible consumption and production. Responsible consumption and production is about doing more and better with less. And basically, what we can all do to attain responsible consumption and production is to minimize our waste, for example, reducing, reusing, recycling, supporting ethical and responsible businesses, as well as educating our audience, our consumers, to sustainable lifestyles. And so, if we have to talk about media and communications, the media play a critical role in educating the public on sustainable development. And why is that? The media, the editors, the communicators often have the choice, other than the responsibility, of what is in a story, on how the story is told. From which angle do we decide to report a story? And most importantly, who is affected by our stories, giving a voice to the most vulnerable groups. And so today I want to expose you to some of the main challenges that the media in ASEAN, in Asia, but also in Europe and globally are facing when reporting about sustainability and sustainable development. It is a quite general knowledge that there are no sufficient stories about the environment and sustainable development issues, even though quite recently, especially under the current COVID situation, we have seen a bit of an increase in stories about sustainable development and the importance of responsible consumption and production. Many assume that the stories on sustainability are not popular and therefore they won't sell. Basically, there is this assumption that people just don't want to read about sustainability or things that are too complex to understand. There is also limited knowledge among journalists on sustainable development and how to report about them. And in this case, for example, I have been involved in several capacity building trainings here in the ASEAN region, where we have trained journalists, media professionals on how to report about these issues. And Thai PBS actually has been kind of a pioneer in the region dealing with this kind of workshops as well. Also, the complex language that is usually used to explain sustainability and sustainable development has been a big obstacle to let these stories come out effectively. Oftentimes, the journalists try to repackage information given by NGOs, but the truth is that even the NGOs that are really working on these issues often do not have the communication skills to report about these stories effectively in a simple way, in a language that will match the journalistic format. Another very important point is that this region is one of the most exposed to the environmental disasters, and oftentimes the journalists only report about the stories after a natural disaster has taken place, rather than writing stories on disaster preparedness, disaster mitigation, and how communities are, let's say, getting ready or building their resilience against disasters. And this is very, it's an issue because a good reporter that will get those stories out before a disaster occurs, that means that that reporter also will have the responsibility of many lives of people by raising awareness of what's going on, what should be done, alarm systems, and all that, as well as recovery, of course. So another challenge that we see in the media is that oftentimes the economy is discussed in isolation without linking it to social and environmental issues. And there is a very limited discourse on poverty reduction and human well-being. And oftentimes we read these solid stories about the economy, and we never learn about how this economy really does affect the people. Sometimes we just hear about, what the government is doing and, the finance aspect of the story, but how are all these numbers really affecting the rural, the urban, any kind of person that actually lives in that economy? And finally, especially lately, we have seen quite a bit also online, in online media, stories using the terms green and sustainable. Yes, it's true, they might have been used a bit more, but what do they really mean? So if we do not understand and explain these terms well, actually they mean everything and nothing, and they can be very damaging, for the narrative and the discourse. Oftentimes, we see media portraying alarmistic news about the end of the world, or talking too much about the problems rather than the solutions, or rather than positive stories or stories written through a more positive angle. And I think that this is a very important point, because in order to sell, the media often dramatizes, which goes kind of against of those journalistic codes of ethics, where our responsibility is to be objective, fair, and ethical. So these are just, in short, some of the challenges that the media in ASEAN and Asia face today when reporting about sustainability, the environment. But as we mentioned, we also need to talk about the positive bits. So what are the media opportunities? And these opportunities, don't consider them just for traditional media professionals. Every organization has a communications focal point. Even if you don't have a communication representative, you in your organizations, in your field, can be the communicator and make a change. So the 5-6 media opportunities that I have identified is basically include sustainable development stories in more mainstream contents. So you can include sustainable development and link it to the economy, to politics, to society, to culture. Sustainable development can be something discussed in easy terms, also through talking with your family at the dinner table. You don't need to use complex notions of sustainability to spark a conversation that matters. 2, Make sustainability stories matter to your audience. Basically, when you're talking about sustainable development, show how it matters in yours and other people's daily lives. And this is a very important point. Sometimes we talk about sustainability in a way that is too far from us. But the truth is that that sustainability touches each one of our lives. And this is the story that needs to be told. Third, speak with people. Use your audience to tell the story. Learn about how one issue impacts an entire community. This is very important. Use a local community champion to speak about the issues that are affecting that community the most. Listen to the voices of those who are really living and experiencing a challenge. Make stories simple and engaging. Always, always, always explain your terms. As a educator, I could never be more tired to say that. Always explain your terms so that there are no misunderstandings with the stories that you're telling. Another very important point that is often not stressed enough is don't cause any harm. Sometimes media professionals can cause, or communicators can cause harm to others. Pay attention to issues of representation, the languages that you use. Think about race, class, gender. Think how your story is impacting the subjects that you're gonna speak about. It's very important. And finally, make your voice louder, use social media. This is one of the regions that is the most digital connected in the world. And I will just challenge all the people that are following today to create a tweet. If you can say it in 140 characters, which is very short, by the way, then you have, achieved your goal and taken my challenge seriously. If you can write one caption about sustainability and how it is important in your life in a tweet, then you are my communication champion. And so, before we close, I want to leave you with one key message. Each one of us can make a difference. Each one of us. And it is our shared responsibility towards ourselves, towards our communities, and towards our home, which is not just the four walls in which we live. It is the earth in which we live. So make your voice heard. You're all communicators. Thank you so much. And now we can open to questions, if any, and I will be happy to answer you at best as I can. Thank you.
Fantastic, Sara. Make your voice heard. So I think that for tonight is very viral forum for us, or because we have a lot of audience, and then the topic is very touching. So I think that you're touching about the Southeast Asia oceanic pollution. So I think that some of our audience they also working with the ocean issue. So maybe some voice from them or others are most welcome, please. And tonight I think that Chandalalat would be the core speaker. So she is the guru in environmental too. Welcome to all, please.
And if speakers are writing questions in the chat, then Ajanda Rarat will just read it out loud and I can reply to them.
Yeah, sure. I can do that. No problem. Maybe I can just start maybe encouraging more question and answer from the floor and from our students as well. And I thank you so much, Sara. This is very inspiring presentation, and all the issues that you mentioned is all important for us. I just would like to learn more a little bit, because this is really a time that right now all of us, whether we are here in Thailand or in ASEAN or around the world, we all are um, experiencing the COVID-19 situation and its effects all. And as a communicator, how do you see, like, instead of we are mourning or complaining about the COVID-19, which is, of course, we can't deny it, we have to live with it. But how can we turn this angle into like the positive way and grab this opportunity to tell the sustainability stories, or, I mean, to the external audience, to the people? Can you explain a little bit more, or what do you think about this? How can we grab this situation, the current situation, to tell more people's story and link it to the sustainability?
Yes. You ask a very important question. For those who are working in my sector, in the sector of development, sustainability, to be honest with you, I have been very tired to hear COVID in every single seminar, forum, meeting, because COVID is not communicated correctly in a correct way most of the times. So it is always the negative discourse that is being said. And when, as you just mentioned, it is very important to mention the kind of the opportunity in our communication that COVID has brought to us. Personally, COVID is the symptom of our unsustainable consumption and production. And this is why I chose this topic tonight, because of our unsustainable consumption and production patterns, we have COVID. If we stress the resources of the natural environment to a point of no return, then no wonder we will have viruses, diseases, people going once against each other, while the message should be a different one. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for us to communicate about sustainable consumption and production. But also, Thailand, for example, has been, for some cases, a very good example of solidarity. We have seen the common people, helping their neighbors, going, to the street to do food donation. And Thailand has been praised around the world for its good response for COVID. So I think that this is a good story, a positive story to tell to the world, when in many other countries we have witnessed a lot of increasing xenophobia, racism, let's identify the enemy, and that's not the way, because we're all in this together. So I think that by sharing good stories from each country, other countries can also kind of follow that narrative in a more positive manner.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Maybe I will give a chance to our students to ask questions too. You can start with Kunwara if you have any.
Hello
สวัสดีค่ะ
Hello.
ครับ
Hi,
I
Suchat.
have some
Yeah.
question
Hello,
to ask.
Yes. Hello, instructor. May I ask you, if we move forward to the 5G technology, I think the materials will development so fast, and it will opposite to the environment will be waste environment. So how can we raise awareness for solving global pollution when we enter to 5G era, or when we start AI technology?
This is a very good question, because it shows me how the normal communication about sustainability has failed to make it clear that the equation of sustainable consumption is important. The responsibility of us consumers to change our habits is very important, but also of businesses, producers, technology industries that are very polluting. They can do things differently. And there are many, many, many innovations that deal with sustainable production patterns. using renewable energies, for example, or adopting new eco-design, or even minimizing the e-waste, the way we can dispose this waste in a more sustainable and less polluting manner. The normal human being like you and I might not be the engineer who know all about this sustainable production practices. But if we open a little bit our mind and our research skills, we learn that there are many organizations and companies that are already working not business as usual and that are incorporating more sustainable production practices in their work. So it's very important that if you are interested in a particular industry like technology, for example, there are many experiences also from other governments in the world that show you how one country or one region have done that and how we can exchange best practices or good practices about this.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. It's very clear.
I would like to ask some question. I would like to know how to make sustainability genuinely successful in ASEAN and solve gender problem in this region.
So I wanted to make it clear that sometimes we think about, how do you say, I'm an Italian and I want to think about Italy. I'm a Thai and I want to think about Thailand. Or sometimes we think I'm a citizen of ASEAN, I'm a citizen of Europe. But here we don't need to think like this. We need to think I'm a citizen of the earth, which is our shared house. That means that if things don't change in Europe, they cannot change also in ASEAN. If things don't change in America, they cannot change in ASEAN. If ASEAN doesn't change some things, things cannot improve for the rest of the world. We are all interconnected. But it's also very true that ASEAN is working very hard now on the issue of sustainable consumption and production, because they are passing also, both the ASEAN countries and ASEAN as a region, some action plans to make sure that their countries are working towards improving sustainable production and consumption across sectors. So ASEAN as a region, the governments of ASEAN have been committed with the world to improve sustainable consumption and production, both on the paper and also through allowing many projects in the region to experiment with doing things differently. So sometimes, there is also this assumption that sustainability is more expensive, it costs more to do something different. But the truth is that with the new technologies, with the innovation, and also learning from each other, things are moving forward a bit faster. So to answer to your question, I don't think that ASEAN alone will solve the problem. I think that when all the regions of the world are aligned and all understand the importance and the urgency to switch to more sustainable consumption and production, we can really have a change. And this is reflected in the slide I present about fashion. The biggest exporter of fashion goods are all in ASEAN. People need to eat, people need to work. Who is buying clothes from ASEAN factories? Europeans. It has always been like that. But now the largest consumers groups are expected to be in Asia. So everyone needs to be responsible about how we consume and what is being produced and how, So we're all interconnected. One movement in one part of the world affects the other and vice versa.
Okay, thank you very much.
I can take another question if there is another one.
Yes, may I ask you for 2 questions?
Sure.
Yes. For long experience working in ASEAN and in Thailand and ASEAN regions, what is the greatest challenge for you, and what is the major problem in ASEAN for creating a sustainability communication?
Let's say thank you for your question. Because I had the opportunity to work in many different sectors as communications, media, human rights, environment, women empowerment, I think that every kind of issue that we work on has its own problems and difficulties. So I cannot say exactly what is the biggest problem, but I can say that in ASEAN, personally, I think I found many more opportunities to try to solve some of these problems than in many other parts of the world. There are many organizations and people like us that are working every day to analyze what are the issues and how to provide solutions. There is no life is not a straight line where we start, we continue, and then we finish. The problems will always exist. But what we can do is to never stop working to find the solutions. And this is, for example, what Ajahn Komarat always taught us, to never stop, to keep going. So if you think always about the challenges and how difficult it is to solve all the problems, you will feel depressed. So you have to think about the small challenges that you can solve in your daily life, and this will give you the strength to move forward to the next one. Personally, working here, I found the doors open to people who wanted to learn, to want to improve, to want to make a better life for their community, for their organizations, for themselves. So it's a very, how do you say, fertile ground that where plants can grow, you know. It's not one of these regions where people say, no, we cannot do this, we cannot do this, we cannot do this. No, here people want to do. And this for me has been a key point of our career. The willingness to do, to make a change.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
There is not really a question, but observations and shares from Sel M. Baitung. This is on Facebook. Maybe I can read it to all of you. To mention that apart from changing our consumption behaviors in ASEAN concerning waste management affecting water pollution, communication media should create public awareness that these challenges were brought not by the region itself, but of the world. Yeah. And to share the links of the article from the Nikkei on Facebook as well. Yeah, which is you can read more if you're interested. Very good. Yeah. And Sarah, one more question to you. And as you know that like in our region, the development sector is quite big. And from your observation and your own experience, do you think we have enough development communicators working in this field? Do we need more, or in terms of like a educational institution, can today like produce more environmental communicators, sustainable communicators, and feed it into this market?
Absolutely. This is a very important question. Oftentimes, the communicators are employed by the private sector in many parts of the world to do communications as usual, to report stories, but oftentimes these are stories to make more money or to sell a product. People like me, like you, are communication for a change. And therefore, the skills that we have mastered is also not only we are communicators and professionals, we're also researchers, we're also development workers, we also have a background about science sometimes. Maybe we didn't attend a specific training, but we had to learn by ourselves in order to know how to tell that story in an accurate, effective way to overcome some of those challenges that I introduced earlier in my presentation. So we do need more people who might start as scientists and can become communication experts, or we need communication officer to become the scientist and communicate about the environment. The good thing about my personal experience is that communication opens the doors to the world. If you know how to apply those techniques, strategies, you can your life becomes a lifelong learning journey where you can specialize in many things. You will never get bored. So I really encourage that more professionals from sectors become inspiring communicators, and that communication people who have done it for the private sector or for big budgets or for money start telling more effective stories about sustainability and social change. And there are many resources out there online. There are many online programs as well. There are many peer-to-peer exchange opportunities. So there is no excuse. We have to be more of us out there to do our job well, you know?
Yeah, that is really true. And I think Ajahn Kamonrat, you are on the right track, that trying to build the capacity of anyone who are interested in communicating better, communicating the sustainability, the development, no matter what the background is, we all can do this job.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is very important. And also, if you think about it, that originally the journalists back in the times, in the 70s, in the 60s, before, there was no such thing as the mainstream journalism media school that was teaching you everything. The journalists were the people who were on the streets looking for stories and feeling that they had to report about those stories. Today we have evolved. The profession has evolved. We have many more experts out there that can teach us. And that's why it's so important to get more people to be in the communication arena. Because without communication, there will be no justice, no environmental justice, and we will live in a world where we would not be exposed to the truth. So our job is to be the effective communicators to make a change.
Lovely. You make Dr. Kamonrat very happy.
Not only me that is happy. No, I think that all the student as well as all the audience in this topic in this forum must be very happy, because they can be a part of being the effective communicator for their own planet. So you're saying that it's not the issue of the Italian, it's not the issue of the Thai or issue of the ASEAN. It is issue of all the human being. So I think that Kumbala, you seem to say something, right?
Yes, yes. Just I have get a pop idea in my head. May I ask you again? Could you please advise us about the organization where we can participate in recovering our environment? The example I live near the sea, and I would like to recover it from the marine pollution. How I seek for the organization that helps me or helps people in the sea community to recover our sea.
Personally, I think that the list of organizations in Thailand that are working on this issue is more than 100. But for this answer, I think that Ajahn Dararat, after the session, can provide more detailed information. I only want to say something. Sometimes these initiatives are promoted by the foreigners. Let's go for the massive plastic waste initiative, and let's clean our beaches and all that. Then sometimes these events that are very important finish there, and there is no local community leader to keep the work going with the community. So I think that someone like you are the community leader, you are the community ambassador, you are the one through your network that can really make the change, not the organization that comes and then go bye bye, I finished my cleaning, finish. No, you have to develop the good network, the good connection. But remember, the most important is you. You are the community member, you know?
Yeah.
So it's good to get in
Yeah,
touch
no.
with the initiatives that are there, and Ajahn Dararat can also provide more information about that. And it's important that you identify as the local champion of your community, because people need you to really make an impact. So keep going, eh? And let me know how it goes.
Yeah, you emphasize me to empower me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Once I'm sitting behind the scene to listen to your discussion, I keep my smiling wider and wider to see the young generation acting as the effective or active humanism communicator. So I think that I'm touching a lot of the message that you all has sharing in this forum. For example, like uh, communication is very critical, even though it has a lot of challenge, but anyhow it's also gain a lot of opportunity. But it has proved that today Sara and all the participant in this forum has proved that you all can be the active or can be the you use the word as ambassador. You all can be the ambassador of the planet. So I think that with your conclusion of the media opportunity, that's saying that uh, uh, make the sustainable development as a matter of your life being or lifestyle, that can be like a sustainable development is not just a beautiful words. It needs to transform itself to be the real implementation by your daily lifestyle kind of that. So I think that we are touching a lot in your kinds of transforming the theory and the concept into the real tangible implementation. So before you're leaving, Sala, may you please say some word before you're leaving to our student and our audience, please.
First of all, I want to thank you all for listening to me, inviting me, and we need to keep going with these knowledge exchanges, because sometimes we feel that we are alone in our mission of hardworking individuals trying to make a change in this very difficult planet and times we live in. But tonight, I go away with bigger strength, more passion, more electricity to wake up tomorrow to do even better, because of the energy of the student that comes from the sea that wants to take action in his community, because of the other student who cares about ASEAN, Thailand, and what is happening everywhere else in the world. Because all of you, also because of you, Ajahn Komorat, who are my inspiration and my mentor for life, the woman who really is there always to listen to the stories of the community and to bring the opportunities to the communities, following what are the real needs. This is very important. And of course, also the person who introduced me to media development and sustainability, Ajahn Dararat. So today we come all together to build the puzzle of our skills, knowledge, and we have to keep going. There is no choice, you know? All of us have to keep going. This is what gives us the meaning of life. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what
So
is my last thought for tonight.
yes, before you're leaving, I think that Chandalalat would like to give some sweet word to you. Please, Chandalalat.
I think we are all. Thank you so much, Sarah. I mean, your presentation is very impressive, and I'm very proud of you. And grown so much, and the expertise that you share with all of us tonight is very valuable. And I think even if we are sitting in a different places, but as long as we keep connecting and sharing knowledge and experience and also learning from each other, we work as a network to ensure that like we contribute to our community, to our society as best as we can, even if we don't have to, sometimes we don't have to work to for the very big organization in order to make change, but all of us, I think we can make change in our circle of influence within our area. All of us, we can be like the change agent. So thank you so much again, and I hope you don't mind if the students or any of us would like to like connect with you and talk to you more after this live session. Then we can still keep working together in the long run.
With great pleasure. If I can help out, I'm, it's my mission, and I'm very happy to answer any other kind of questions and exchange also my email with the students, and they can always reach me. My doors are always open, let's say.
Perfect. Perfect. Very lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you so much. We and all the audience and the student in this international program of communication art for ASEAN, Sukhothai Thammathirat Open University, Bangkok, Thailand. We commit to your words for tonight that we will be one among the communicator for this planet together. Okay. Cheer. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's very inspiring, huh, Chandalalan?
Very, very much so. Yeah.
A lot of energy, you know? A lot of energy.
Yeah. That's what we love to see. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So I
It
think
takes
that
time, but it's worth it.
yeah, I think that like now all the student we must have a lot of energy now. So some feedback from you all, please.
This is we are not live anymore, right?
Oh,
Yeah, stop. Yes.
okay. We are the private group live now. Now
Yeah.
we are the private group live.
Okay.
So I have a lot. I would like to ask first about human rights. If some countries report the news that relate to human rights argument from the other country, how can the journalist or the media convey this message to the other country? If it's a sensitive issue about some country abuse human rights to some group of people, so how to broadcast, how to report this issue to the other country?
Chandalalan, your background is also some relevant about human rights.
I think because of human right itself is very sensitive. For example, like Rohingya, for example, is the case that of course we see it here, some of it in Thailand as well, but at the same time, it's also a big issue in Myanmar and Bangladesh. And I think when the journalist wants to report about this, they have to be very careful because it's not just about they reporting the story. If they don't do it well, there might be a backlash. I mean, the negative back to their news agency. And to do this, the journalists, they will have to do a lot of investigative and try to dig down inside the story. And one thing that I think all the journalists needs to be in mind, of course, people, the audience, the readers, we all love drama, but with human rights, you can't make it drama to dramatize or turn it into the soap opera story, but blood and tears. Because I think being a journalist, we have to be really, they have to be really responsible for their story as well. If the story that they report at some point give the bad or the negative impacts to the refugee themselves or those to the like a human rights victim themselves, I think that is very big issue. So they have to really bear in mind about it. In some cases, how can I say? Let's say, for example, my experience, like by that time, I was working to just talk a lot in terms of the dam in the Mekong region, and the dam affects almost everyone along the Mekong mainstream. Thai people, we are here in Thailand. We can say anything. We can say bad things about our government. We can shout at them, and the local communities are very strong. But then, when we look at Laos, we goes to Laos. The Lao people, they may feel the same. Like their paddies, their veggie patch were flooded because of the dams and the waters that came into their area. They wanted to say something. They wanted to say that the government, why you're doing this to us, but they can't because the way in that country is, we say, communist. So if they say something against the government, it's just like they commit suicide to themselves. So the way they do it, they tell the story, they share the story to Thai journalists or to Thai advocates, and then let the story produce here in Thailand, because Lao people read Thai media, whether newspaper or online or TV. And so this is one way that to instead of the Lao people telling the story themselves or Lao journalists, they really can't do that. They just feed the story to Thai journalists and use this as a platform to like an echo back to the Lao government. So yeah.
And then I would like to share a bit kinds of it seemed like a human right. It seemed to be like a sensitive issue. It's like what Sara just discussed a while ago, that it's like a COVID-19. It seemed to be like it's a danger issue, kind of that sensitive issue. But if a human being follow kinds of the ethics regulation, like you might remember Dr. Pani at the second chair, right? She mentioned about the global ethics, about one among the issue of the global ethics is kind of human right, right? So meaning that the right of the human, that's if we simplify the word.
Yeah.
So how can the communicator can communicate in the way of respect to or the right of or the human being? So this is one of the selling point of our ASEAN or Southeast Asia human being culture. So
Yeah.
this is the reason why our selling point is cultural communication or cross cultural communication.
Yeah.
Just imagine that in the pandemic of COVID, globally now is about 14 million people affected, right? You observe the situation from the CNN reporting in America. They have different culture, right? Kind of that. So meaning that this kind of human right is one among the common issue of the human being. So meaning that we need to respect to the global regulation, national regulation. That is the saying that sometimes in some particular issue you cannot saying that, but you need to seeking the way to communicating in a creative way. For example, like Kunbi Pop last week, he talking about kind of the investigative journalism is not enough. The intensive investigation, you need to summarize to be a creative and uh, kind of creative solution journalist, kind of that. So meaning that the duty of being communicator, like Sara said ago, is a lifelong learner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if we need to say something, we need to make sure that it's not harm to any kinds of others, human rights of the other, as well as personal issue, as well as privacy, as well as the culture of each uh, 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 ethnic group also.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult to talk in kind of some sensitive issue for the marginal groups, kind of. But if we communicate, if we talk in the way of respect to the rights of human being, I think that is the safe zone. But first of all, we need to make it fact first, and then second boundary is you see the context of communication and regulation of each culture, kind of that. So I think that communicator need to be a lifelong learner, as well as the respective people to the humanism, kind of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think this.
I think we have to be very sensible when we are approaching some issues. For example, like just human rights alone, if we dig down further, we might see like it might link with the human trafficking linked to corruptions, mafia, and it's not just like it's a normal business, but it's related to maybe somebody in the government who is big enough to allow this process to move forward because it's involved with big money. So I think we really have to be very very sensible. And this is one thing why I see like when Sarah mentioned that it's very challenging, not just us but also like for the journalists, because it takes time. You have to learn, and within the term sustainable development goal, there are so many issues. We see like 17 topics that they are approaching, right? Human, children, education, environment, everything. And being a communicator or like the journalists themselves, they for the journalists they really working to compete with the time. Every day they will have to produce the stories, so they have very limited time to go and research the story like in depth much enough to produce the quality reports or quality coverage. So most of the time we see just like a quick report, who's doing what and where, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah. That is challenging. Yeah.
But don't be so panic. Like everyone could be the professional and effective communicator if they work hard.
Yeah.
And then very lucky you that in this current 5G that you always mention that information is always there. And
Yeah.
then in the strategic of professional communicator working is kinds of networking. So you cannot stand alone
Yeah.
because the 5G is really jumping, and then you cannot come up in any kinds of pop-up information all the time. So you need a network. So this is the one among the selling point of our program is this is the reason why we try to connect all the guru from all the dimension to meet with you all, and then you know them, and then once you graduate, you work in any kinds of pop-up challenge or problem. You might record them, and then you can connect with them easily. So this is the strategy of the program to link you all with the networking. Yes, in this 21st century is no man is an island. No man is the island. So this is the best-selling book before the COVID. Stand alone. You need to connect the dots. Kind of that. Yes. Okay.
Connie and Albert, do you want to add anything? I think the fact that we have like a three of you here who's come from different background is really useful because sometimes communications you can the knowledge that you have, no matter how I learn, I will never know about, let's say, nursing or medical issues as good as Connie. Right, but then because of that it takes time to build that kind of knowledge, and now with the foundation that you have and you add communication on top of it as an additional skill for this like a nowadays world, I think that would be very perfect combination.
Yeah, I will let you think for a minute, right? I am very touching in the conclusion that Sara has made it. For example, like normally once we communicating about the environment, we mostly heard about any kinds of awful, harmful
Mhm.
message, kind of that. So in the strategic of effective communication is saying that it's no need to be like that. You can create a professional message to convey the message of environmental awareness, kind of that. So I think that this is the key point. And then another thing is speak with the people and then let them speak. Finally open the opportunity for them to speak,
Mhm.
might be the channel, might be the Twitter, might be the social media, and then let them talk, and then you can be the escort or partner with that. So that can make the slogan that let the voice of everyone heard be heard is the real.
Mhm.
Yes, especially among the young generation because they are the owner of the planet, which is really polluted now. So it's their duty to be engaged and voice their voice up, kind of that. So this was the way. And then during the COVID-19, you might observe that so many beautiful messages popping up, like the turtle come from the cave to lay the eggs, and then many of the dolphin come up, many of the
Uh-huh.
stars, kind of that. So this is beautiful of the COVID. That's no more human being harm them. Then they
Yeah.
pop up, kind of that. Yes, please continue this one.
So I think it will be better if Mr. Trump, President of United States, Twitter how to protect the world for the pollution, how to eliminate nuclear weapons, something. It will be very popular. Will be touchable.
Can you translate to me again, Ajahn Dalarat, what Bunmala said?
Tell me about Trump. Yeah, if Trump walk like the right way, yeah, then our environment would be much better. But let's see. I think by November to see if Trump's still in his position. I think he's in a bad shape right now.
It's
Yeah.
impossible.
America is so chaotic.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and I think that today there's a big news of the pass away of the human right in America, right? You know him, Ajahn Dalarat, you know him?
No, I'm not sure. I follow the news today. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a big news of American. That's he's a black man who is a fighter for the human right. That
John
is,
Lewis.
yeah, Louis,
John,
kind of that. Yep.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
what else that we should know? So I think that by the live for tonight is similar to last week. Similar to what Kun Pipop mentioned that. In today's world, no need to be very fierce, very fighting, very kind of that. In today's world, we need the fact. We need the citation. Whatever you say, you need to make sure that you cited, right? You have the background. Whatever you pick it up, wherever you pick it up, you need to claim, you need to cite it, and then you need to make sure that it's reliable at the most as you can. and then that is the first fundamental of being the communicator, and then later on add up your creative value into that communication kind of that. So I think that it is similar to what is Thai PBS trying to promote, because everyone is the citizen who can be the communicator anytime, anywhere, because they have the smartphone in their hands. So I think that one among the key point of today communication is at least we need to be the good example of a communicator.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I can think of, like just flash into my head, is that when you mentioned about like we need the evidence, because it's very very important. Like if we look at like the fight or the movement of the community, the civil society in the past, we saw a lot of demonstrations, protests, and it's all about like angers, feelings, emotions, but very little in terms of having like the evidence or data support. But nowadays, data becomes very, very key, very important. No matter what you're planning to do, you need to have data backup to guide which path that you are going to move into, whether like an advocacy or set up the policy. Data is very important. Like so nowadays we heard a lot about big data, right? So just be aware of that and make use
Yeah.
of it.
If you say the fact, nobody can sue you, you know. But if you abuse the message, finally you are in the digital world. You might heard about the technical term like a digital footprint, right? Whatever you mention in the digital message or kind of, it will be record. Like we are talking tonight, is already record, kind of that. So the meaning that whatever we saying that we need to be sure that is fact, it's true, kind of that. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And
I,
people
I,
can check anywhere, anytime. People can check it, right? So
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
old time, the one that being the kind of the speaker, they need the communication skill to speak whatever they would like to speak. They just speak. But like now, they cannot do like that, because
Yeah.
digital footprint can be the backup to harm them, to harm themselves or to push up themselves. So nobody can make a lie. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And even if like you post something on the your Facebook or anything and on the website, even if you deleted it and you thought it would be gone, people can trace it and then bring it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kun Vara, you know
So
that.
yes, yes.
Let
It
me
is
share something. Let me share something about Ajahn Sara tonight. Uh, Actually, she she is she is one among the good example of communicator. You know, because at the beginning her English is not that good, right, Ajahn Dararat? But she worked very hard. So I think that she, because she is your age, so she can be the model that you can be follow. She speaks slow English, but she worked very hard. She never give up, and then finally she transformed herself to be the international consultant by using
yeah.
communication. That's it. And then I used to work with her, and then she never know about the IT at the beginning. So she trained with us, and then she trained a lot, and then she worked very hard. And then like now, she's just most welcome in many organizations. And then as she mentioned also that in the UN organization that is more than 20
Yeah.
or 30, is need communicator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it need the local communicator, because nobody can speak on behalf of the Thai. Nobody can speak on behalf of the ASEAN. So meaning that is this exactly the opportunity for you all to
Yeah.
be the professional soon. So just practice, 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 and then your English will be master. Kind of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the content, it change all the time. Content keep changing. Keep the network. Keep practicing. Keep open up for all learning. Then that's it. The world will be you. Kind of
Oh,
that. Mm.
Lovely.
I think
Ajahn,
so.
yeah. Do you want to before we close? Do you want to mention a little bit about like the examination that has been postponed, and if we are planning to have more sessions from now until then?
Yeah, yeah. The examination should be in mid of August. It's postponed one more month. My God. So it's good to you. It's good to you because we can keep practicing. So meaning that they just announced in the last Friday that it will be 12 and 13 September. Have that. So, like Kunwala asking about could it be the same day? I'm not sure. I have to recheck about it. So I think that is good. So we can keep talking and sharing the idea. I think that you all can gain the benefit from networking with more people because we have a lot more professor that is very professional to share with you. For example, like we have a full professor from he's a full professor from Bangladesh, but his nationality is the Filipino. He's very good, and then he will share with us
Yeah.
about the communication theories in kinds of the regional context. So Dr. Jude will meet you so soon. So I think that next week it will be the long weekend, right? Next week. So we will stop live for the 26th, I think 26th no live. We will let you go for holiday to check the ocean and the beach.
Go to Rayong, help Rayong, save
No,
Rayong.
save the
Save the
young,
young.
right? And then after
How
that,
about the case?
huh?
So what the reason why university postponed the examination day? What is the reason?
The reason is the same that the student lack of the opportunity to have the active learning from what they should have. They use the philosophy of the physical learning, but for us we normally online, so we are not affected for that. But luckily that we are happy to meet each other every Sunday, so that's it. And then I also I think Connie, your little girl seem to be familiar to us, right? She's still waiting for you. Your little girl still waiting for you to go to bed. Huh?
They ready for bed already.
Oh,
For
already?
sleep.
Yeah, I think that that's good. So they can get used to kinds of learning environment, but it's quite a bit late for them. So I think that that's good. Actually, we have planned to invite Professor Jude to share with us next semester because he's very keen in research methodology. But since it's extended, so I think that after the long holiday, about September, August, I think. September, August. So we'll see each other again with Professor Ju. So you will focus on communication theories in the context of Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. So that's how. Yeah.
So the
Okay.
next session, the next Sunday that we are going to meet, when would it be? On the
Uh,
second of August?
September, August. Yes. Is that so? Oh, yes, yes. September. No, 2nd August. 2nd August. Yes, I will keep communicating you once we are clear. So whatever problem, keep communicating with us. So for tonight, I think that it's very good to get the message, confirm message from Sara that communicator for change or communicator for development or communicator for ASEAN is really a need. So you just take your time to find yourself that who you are, what
Yes.
expertise that you are going to be. For example, like Connie might be the communicator in the medical side or medical or public health service kind of that. So that might be the way that Connie will pave her way to that. Suchat might be some kind of gender or kind of human right or kind of that. And Kunwala might be some kind of environmental or kind of marginalized kind of that. That's the how. So I'm sure that in this coming coming years, you three will be the guru in this kind of communication for change. It's really a need because, like Ajandala last mentioned, that there is opening up position for communicator a lot, but no Thai.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They want Thai. I mean Thai who can speak English, because even if there's a lot of foreigners who want this job, but to work in this region, they need to have the cultural sensitivity. And sometimes foreigners, they don't understand, so it has to be people from the region to understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And very least that we have communicator in public health kind of that. So I think that Connie might be might be the chance, and Sushan also the got many interest in kind of gender and then human right or even kinds of culture. I think that a lot of way to go also, right? Okay. Something else for tonight? Connie, you study every day, huh, Connie? That's good.
Day by day.
She's very invested. She study every day. So I think that so soon, yeah, you will be expert, but you need to speak more, huh? Mm, okay. So anything else though, then we'll let you go and see you again in 2nd of August. Just keep communicating if any, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sweet dream. Bye bye.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good night.
you. Bye
Bye.
bye.